Welcome to episode 14 of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into one of literature's most formidable yet utterly fascinating texts, James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. Specifically, we're setting our sights on Chapter 3, pages 50 through 53. Now, you've provided us with a truly intriguing stack of sources, not just the raw, beautiful chaos of the wake itself, but also the invaluable insights of scholars like Joseph Campbell, Danis Rose, and John Gordon, along with meticulously detailed glossaries to help us navigate the linguistic labyrinth.
Yeah, those glossaries are essential, aren't they?
Absolutely. Our mission today is to act as your expert guides, to untangle these dense, dreamlike pages, to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, and, well, to give you that essential shortcut to understanding the layers of meaning, the playful humor, and the sheer linguistic genius Joyce packed into every single line. This isn't just a reading, it's an immersive exploration of identity, memory, and the very nature of storytelling itself, all wrapped up in Joyce's unparalleled wordplay.
And what's truly remarkable about these pages, and indeed about Finnegans Wake as a whole, is that the very act of trying to identify characters and events isn't just a challenge for the reader. It becomes a central theme within the narrative itself.
Ah, okay.
These few pages are a prime example of Joyce deliberately blurring lines, making us question constantly who is speaking, who is being described, when and where are these events truly taking place. It's a deliberate ambiguity that forces a deeper kind of engagement.
So the confusion is the point, in a way.
Exactly. You'll discover that these pages offer a perfect microcosm of the Wake's entire magnificent challenge, and its immense reward, that thrilling satisfaction of uncovering connections and patterns where none initially seemed to exist, and the profound recognition that ambiguity, far from being a flaw, can be an incredibly powerful and enriching narrative tool.
Like a puzzle.
It's like being given a complex puzzle, where half the fun is in figuring out what the pieces even are. The elusive storyteller. A shifting persona, pages 50.33, 51.2.
Okay, let's unpack this opening then, because Joyce doesn't ease us in, does he? We're immediately thrown into a whirlpool of confusion right off the bat with lines like, when Fischl Phil once throws his lip, 'tis his folly to be fortune-flaunting, and whoever's gone to Mix Hotel by the salt say water, there's next to nothing we can do, for he's never again to see. It feels like we've stumbled into a conversation already well underway about someone who's quite literally vanished. What does this immediate sense of loss and uncertainty tell us about the situation and the characters involved?
Well, it's an instant immersion into uncertainty, isn't it? This raises an important question right away. Who is Fischl Phil? Our sources point to a specific Percy French song, Whistling Phil McHugh, a popular Irish ballad.
Okay.
But the phrase also cleverly echoes other laments like Come Back, Paddy Riley, and Mix Hotel by the Salt Say Water, which sounds like a wistful memory of a particular Irish watering hole, maybe.
So it's not just one person.
It's not just about a single Phil character. It evokes a broader sense of melancholic nostalgia, a lament about someone dear disappearing, someone lost to the world, suggesting a fundamental difficulty in pinning down identity from the very beginning of this narrative segment.
Right.
And that line, next to nothing we can do for he's never again to see, is equally layered. It carries a literal heartbreaking meaning, implying maybe a sailor lost to the waves, but mix, as slang for nothing, also hints at a complete, almost untraceable disappearance, as if he simply ceased to exist.
Total vanishing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Joseph Campbell, one of our key commentators, notes that across these pages, the characters of our piece are very hard to fix and distinguish from each other. This isn't an accident. It's a crucial part of Joyce's strategy. Our mission, as you rightly highlighted, is to understand this deliberate blurring and the inherent instability of identity within this text.
Okay.
Joyce isn't just presenting a story. He's presenting the challenge of trying to grasp a story, much like trying to catch smoke, you know?
That makes perfect sense. And the text then explicitly gives us almost a meta-commentary on this difficulty, stating, "It is nebulous, an autodidact fact of the commonest, that the shape of the average human cloudy fizz frequently altered its ego with the passing of the showers." Not original.
Chuckles, yeah.
This sounds almost like Joyce offering a justification, telling us directly, don't expect things to be straightforward because people just change, and so do their stories. Is he giving us permission to embrace the ambiguity here?
Exactly. It's a brilliant, self-aware moment from Joyce. The word nebulous is a fantastic Joycean pun, combining, nevertheless, with nebulous, meaning mist or fog.
Ah, okay. Nebulous.
It immediately signals the unclear, hazy nature of the subject we're dealing with. Then autodidact fact suggests a self-evident, self-taught truth, something universally understood. Yet its immediate application here is to explain ambiguity and fluidity rather than clarity.
Right.
The cloudy fizz, a wonderfully evocative term for a cloudy or indistinct face.
Cloudy face, yeah.
And its changing ego. Its alter ego, its very self with the passing of the showers, which suggests both the relentless passing of years and maybe passing wet for being saturated, perhaps with tears, rain, or the trials of life, truly underscores the profound fluidity of appearance and identity over time. So it's more than just aging. Oh, much more. This isn't just natural aging, though that's certainly a component. It's an intentional blurring, a deliberate obfuscation by Joyce. And the parenthetical, not original, is a wonderfully mischievous, self-referential wink.
Cuckles. Yeah, I like that.
It's Joyce acknowledging that he's using a common, almost proverbial idea to explain something profoundly complex, inviting us to be in on the joke. He's saying, yes, I know this sounds like a cliche, but I'm twisting it to explain what you can't quite get a handle on my characters. It's a genius move, really.
Yeah, it really is. Given this fluid, almost shape-shifting nature of identity, it's almost ironic how Joyce then attempts to identify the individual and to define this individual not through a fixed face, but through a seemingly concrete list of his clothes. Scratch wigs, square cuts, stock level ear, regattable oxider, baggy pants, and shufflers. What can these very specific, almost theatrical details tell us about this elusive individuum? It feels like he's dressed in layers of history and archetype.
It's a masterful stroke, isn't it? This list is a fantastic example of Joyce building character through disparate layered details, almost like an ancient fresco. Our sources identify nearly 7 distinct items, even though the phrase itself can be read as 6.
Right, that playful imprecision again?
Exactly. Each piece of clothing is a clue, a historical echo, or a thematic hint. For instance, the scratch wig and square cuts are theatrical terms. A scratch wig was a rough, untidy wig, often used for comedic or rustic parts, and square cuts refers to 18th century coats.
So performance. Or just old-fashioned.
Could be both. It immediately suggests a performance, or an old-fashioned, possibly comical figure, someone who perhaps doesn't quite fit his time, or is consciously playing a role. The stock lavalier combines a tight neckcloth, a stock, with a loose necktie, a lavalier.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just fashion. It also subtly references the French politician Pierre Laval, who is known for his regrettable ties with the Nazis during WWII.
Wow. Okay, that's a heavy layer.
It injects potent political and historical layers into a seemingly simple description of attire, making the character a conduit for larger historical narratives. Regattable oxider links to the idea of a postponed regatta, that recurring motif.
Yes.
Suggesting deferral and anticipation. And oxter is an Anglo-Irish term for armpit. Baggy pants connect to Oxford bags, fashionable wide trousers around the turn of the century, again, placing him in a specific historical fashion.
Right.
And finally, shufflers are slippers, completing a somewhat disheveled, eclectic outfit that feels both grand and slightly ridiculous.
A real mix.
Exactly. So these aren't just descriptive items. They are clues that hint at the character's theatricality, his potential historical allusions, his connection to broader political narratives, and a general air of being out of time or place, or perhaps even in a constant state of subtle disguise.
Yeah.
It forces you to ask, is this character performing an identity, or is his identity a composite of all these historical and social costumes?
That's a fascinating thought. So this individuum is not just changing. He's got nicknames and even physical characteristics that seem to hint at even deeper stories. We're told he is often alluded to as Sly Patrick, the helid in the lane, and has an incipience lust in the direction of area baldness. There's so much packed into that.
Absolutely. Sly Patrick immediately resonates with the Thomas Moore song, Has Sorrow the Young Days Shaded, which was said to the air Sly Patrick.
Ah, the Irish connection again?
Exactly. This instantly embeds the character in a rich tapestry of Irish cultural memory, implying a figure of sorrow, shaded youth, or perhaps even cunning. The phrase, all let in the lane, is incredibly dense, a typical Joycean multi-layered pun. It evokes lad in the lane, a simple country boy, but also incorporates the Welsh salon for church, or sacred enclosure, and the Spanish llana for a page of a book.
Wow. Church, book, lane.
So the individual is connected to a specific place, to religion, and indeed to the very text we are reading, becoming a character within his own narrative, on his own page. It's a brilliant way to blur the lines between reality and text.
Definitely.
And then the incipience, lust, in the direction of area baldness, is particularly rich with implication. John Gordon, in his meticulous commentary, links this parenthetical lust to Hamlet's father's ghost saying list, a call to attention, perhaps hinting at a deep secret.
Okay, like a ghost story element.
Possibly. He also connects it to a reference in Circe from Ulysses about someone prematurely bald from self-abuse. This isn't just a natural process of aging. It suggests maybe a moral failing, a hidden past, perhaps even a specific literary allusion to a haunted, guilt-ridden figure, a man carrying the weight of his own history and transgressions. Joyce layers references to disguise, history, and even internal psychological states into every phrase, inviting us, the readers, to become detectives of meaning, piecing together a complex portrait from these fragmented clues.
Like looking at a fractured mirror.
That's a great way to put it. Each piece reflecting a different aspect of a larger, elusive truth.
It truly turns the reader into an active participant. So, into this complex scene, who asks this transformed man to tell a story. The text says, free board school shirkers in drenched coats over a wall, Will, Con, and Otto, to tell them over a gate, Vol, Pav, and Dev, that fish-a-bed goat story.
Duckles, yes.
This is a very specific group with specific names asking for a truly peculiar story. What is this unusual request and the characters making it reveal?
Indeed, the three board school shirkers are truants, young boys skipping school. A universal image of youthful rebellion, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They approach over a wall, which is a playful combination of over a wall, as truants might sneak around, overalls, suggesting their simple attire, and all over, perhaps meaning they're drenched all over from the weather.
Okay.
Their names, Will, Con, and Otto, aren't just simple names. They ingeniously echo the French vouloir, pouvoir, et devoir, meaning will, can, and ought to.
Ah, like the drives.
Exactly. It suggests a universal human drive or capacity for action and obligation embedded in their very request. They will hear this story, they can hear it, and perhaps in some primal sense, they ought to hear it. Joseph Campbell identifies these boys as the three truants who surely remind us of the three soldiers from earlier in the Wake.
Okay, connecting back.
Further linking these young characters to recurring archetypes of authority and rebellion, possibly even the three soldiers who witness HCE's alleged indiscretion.
Right, the incident in the park.
Precisely. And then there's the truly marvelous fish-a-bed goat story. This is a brilliant, grotesque, and very Joycean portmanteau. Piss-a-bed, a term for a dandelion or a bedwetter, suggesting something common and slightly disreputable. Fish, possibly referencing the famous goaty pun for fish, playing with the arbitrariness of language. And ghost story. Ghost, hinting at something supernatural or haunting.
A ghost story about a dandelion fish.
Chuckles.
Chuckles, something like that. It's described as the hardly creditable adventures of the haberdasher, the two kerchies, and the three anklechims in their bearskin goats. Haberdasher is a key detail as it refers to HCE Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker,
The main man himself.
the constantly transforming archetypal father figure who is arguably the central, dreamlike protagonist of the entire Wake. He embodies many men, and his story is the story of Ireland itself. The kerchies are kerchies, or perhaps curtsies, suggesting women, and anklechims is another multi-layered term. German for grandchild, Danish for bachelor, Dutch for ankle, and also slang for soldiers or chums.
Soldiers again. Yes, they are specifically associated with soldiers, particularly British grenadiers, who famously wear bearskin goats, their tall bearskin hats, also a pun on birthday clothes or cloaks. This immediately connects the requested story to the most central Wake characters, HCE, the soldiers, and the women around him, and to recurring themes of disguise, military life, family dynamics, and even primal transgression, all presented through a dreamlike, distorted lens.
So the children are asking for the core myth.
Essentially, yes. Perhaps they are asking for the primal, slightly scandalous narrative of their origins.
That's incredible. These children are essentially asking for the myth of their world. And the narrator then exclaims, girls and youngers, but he has changed a lock sign Thorkill's time. Followed by this dizzying count. Yadatra, Gathery, Pimp, Shesses, Shosafat, Okadaboko, 9.
Yeah, it's quite a burst.
This rapid-fire sequence of transformations and enumerations makes it clear this isn't just a simple story, it's an epic spanning eons.
It absolutely is. Changed a lot since Thorkill's time. Isn't just hyperbole. It's a specific historical reference to Tursasius, a 9th century Viking invader and ruler of Dublin.
Wow, way back.
Exactly. This isn't about a few years. It signals a vast span of historical time and immense, almost geological transformation, suggesting a character who literally embodies centuries of change, conflict, and cultural amalgamation within Ireland.
Right.
The subsequent counting, Yada, Tra, Gathery, Pimp, Shesses, Shosafat, Okudaboko 9, is a playful yet incredibly dense enumeration. It's a multilingual sequence, including dialect, yeah, yes, Russian, yes, German 9, no, and numbers from various languages like Welsh Pump 5 and Sanskrit Shash 6, culminating in Okudaboko for okie dokie.
Okie-dokie. Chuckles.
Chuckles, right. The sources also link 9 to Confucius's 9 half-sisters and other profound associations with the number 9 across various mythologies and spiritual traditions. 9 muses, 9 circles of hell, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's loaded with significance.
Very loaded. This rapid multilingual count highlights the dizzying multiplicity of everything in the Wake: identities, languages, histories, and meanings. It's a microcosm of the entire book's approach, compressing vastness into a single line.
And then the physical change gets really visceral.
It does. The physical manifestations of this change are described in vivid, almost grotesque detail. Those many warts, those slummy patches, half-sinister wrinkles, and, Shrine of Mount Mu, save us, the large Fung-Park he has grown.
Fung-Park.
Yeah, this imagery warts, slum-like patches, sinister wrinkles, and the Fung-Park, a combination of fungus mushroom and a whimsical reference to the explorer Mungo Park, also implying a large, perhaps overgrown beard, vividly depicts the extent of the storyteller's physical transformation, almost a physical decay or emerging with the landscape itself.
And Mount Mu.
Mount Mu, as noted in our sources, is a shrine where Confucius's parents prayed for a male child, adding a layer of spiritual longing and a connection to ancestral origins to this physical degradation. What Joyce is doing here isn't just telling you about the erosion of fixed identity. He's making you feel it through this sensory assault of decaying flesh, ancient history, and linguistic chaos.
You definitely feel it. It's a powerful experience of entropy and transformation. 2. The cad in the English garden. Setting the scene for the tale. Pages 51.21, 52.17. So after unraveling the storyteller's incredibly fluid, almost grotesque identity, Joyce now subtly grounds us, albeit briefly, in a specific time and place. The scene shifts. Sport's a common thing. It was the Lord's own day for damp to wait for a postponed regatta as eventualizing is not of Battledore-Jux-Mare only. What atmosphere does this create? We've gone from a rapidly changing, almost mythical figure to a distinct, almost mundane Sunday.
Well, this passage subtly yet powerfully grounds the narrative in a distinct, if somewhat whimsical, reality, providing a momentary respite from the previous disorienting rush of transformation. Lord's own day immediately indicates Sunday, a day of rest, often linked to the common or garden phrase, suggesting something ordinary and familiar.
Okay.
The damp sets a specific, slightly gloomy or humid atmosphere, which aligns perfectly with Irish weather, maybe, but also hints at literal wetness, perhaps even tears or a sense of melancholy anticipation.
And the regatta again.
Yes, the postponed regatta. It's a recurring motif in the Wake, and a detail often found in historical records, adding a touch of mundane realism amidst the fantastical descriptions. It's an event that always seems to be on the cusp of happening, but never quite does.
Right, always deferred.
Reflecting perhaps the deferral of resolution, the eternal wait for something that may never come. And Battledore-Jux-Mare is a wonderfully playful Joycean place name.
Chuckles, it sounds made up.
It is. It's a portmanteau suggesting battledore and shuttlecock, a popular game, a kind of primitive badminton, and the Latin Jux-Mare for beside the sea. It's a fictional, slightly absurd location that still manages to evoke a very real English seaside setting, blending the ordinary with the imaginative.
Okay.
Joyce, even in his wildest narratives, constantly grounds his characters and events in these small, relatable, often slightly off-kilter details from everyday life, even as he transforms them into something much larger and more symbolic.
Yeah.
It's how he makes the utterly fantastic feel strangely familiar.
That grounding is short-lived, though, because the request for an armed explanation is then put to the Porty, a native of the Sister Isle Meathman or Meccan, by his brogue, X-race eyes, local colour, and local odor, which are said to have been average climb Turkish. This description is absolutely packed with ambiguity, and it's fascinating how many layers Joyce puts into identifying this Porty. It's like he's throwing every possible identifier at us, yet somehow making the character less defined.
You've hit on a crucial point there. The Porty himself is a character layered in profound ambiguity, a single person who is simultaneously many. The term Porty plays on porter, the dark Irish drink or carrier of burdens, and port wine,
Okay.
hinting at his possibly inebriated state or his role in transporting stories. His initial identification as a native of the Sister Isle, Ireland, often referred to as John Bull's other island, immediately frames him geographically. But then the brilliant, jarring question, Meathman or Meccan, immediately blurs both geographical and religious identity.
Meath or Mecca, that's a huge leap.
Huge. Is he from County Meath in Ireland, steeped in Irish history, or is he a Muslim from Mecca, representing a completely different cultural and spiritual heritage? His brogue Irish accent points to his origins, but his X-ray size is another fantastic Joyce pun.
X-ray.
Suggesting both X-ray eyes famously associated with Joyce himself, who was called the man with the X-ray eyes for his penetrating gaze and eyes that have seen many races or struggles, eyes weary with history. Then we have local color, heat, and local odor referencing Lucan, a place in Dublin, which are used to identify him. Yet the entire description is summarized as average clown Turkish.
Clown Turkish.
Yeah, another brilliant fusion. Referencing Park in Dublin, turquoise blue, and combining the ideas of a clown, comical, disguised, theatrical, with a Turkish appearance, adding yet another layer of exoticism and theatricality, a sense of being both local and foreign. It's a kaleidoscopic identity.
Absolutely. And the linguistic depth continues even further with, though the capelist's voice, nasal liquids, and the way he sneezed at Z's haul us back to the crags and brins of the Silurian ordovices. This is an incredibly specific and deep dive into linguistics and ancient history for just a description of a character's speech. What's the significance of tying a character's voice to such ancient origins?
It truly is a remarkable passage, demonstrating Joyce's profound erudition and his belief that identity is deeply rooted in language and the land itself. This phrase takes us even deeper into the character's nuanced identity through his speech patterns.
How so?
Well, the reference to the capeless voice nasal liquids and the way he sneezed at Z's is a highly specialized detail that immerses us in Welsh phonetics. Capel is a Welsh term for chapel, often found in Welsh place names, hinting at a connection to a specific locale or even a religious undertone. Our sources meticulously point out that the Welsh language has specific voiced nasal liquids, like MNNGLR, and famously has no Z, so a sneeze at Z's means he literally makes a sound that isn't a Z, or perhaps contemptuously dismisses the sound Z because it's not part of his linguistic palette.
Wow, that's incredibly specific.
It is, and this linguistic precision then haul us back to the crags and brins of the Silurian ordovices. Crag, rock, and bryn, hill, are Welsh place name components, evocative of rugged landscapes. The Silurian ordovices are not only ancient Welsh tribes, hinting at primordial ancestry, but also refer to two consecutive geological ages, about 400–500 million years ago.
Geological ages.
Yes, with Dublin itself having Silurian and Ordovician rocks beneath its surface. So what Joyce is doing here is extraordinary. He's not just describing a person, he's describing his very voice, his origins, connecting his speech patterns, his accent, to ancient Welsh geology and a deep ancestral past.
So his voice carries history.
Exactly. It shows us that identity isn't just a composite of recent origins, accents, or perceived traits. It can be profoundly tied to a land's primal history, his very rocks and linguistic DNA. It's as if his accent itself is a living fossil carrying echoes of forgotten ages.
That's a powerful way to visualize identity, not as a snapshot, but as a geological cross-section. We then learned that the Porty had made Pats and Pigs older insult, the southeast bluffs of the stranger steppe shore, a refugium persecutorum, hence hindquarters. This dense phrase sounds like a journey and a refuge, but also carries significant historical weight. What does it tell us about his past and his current location?
This phrase is incredibly rich with historical, geographical, and deeply personal resonance, painting a vivid picture of the Porty's migration and his reason for it. Pats and Pigs older insult refers directly to Ireland. Pat is a colloquial term for an Irishman from St. Patrick, and Pig Island, Mushini's, is an ancient, somewhat pejorative but historically recognized name for Ireland. Insult is German for island.
So definitely Irish.
Definitely. He's made the southeast bluffs of the stranger steppe shore, which immediately evokes the iconic white cliffs of Dover in southeastern England, a symbolic gateway to England, his refugium persecutorum.
Refugium persecutorum.
Latin.
Yes, and it's a truly profound Latin phrase, a Joycean invention built upon existing terms. Refugium refers to the Roman ceremony celebrating the expulsion of kings, literally flight of the king, but Joyce ingeniously combines this with refugium peccatorum from the Litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary, meaning refuge of sinners, to create refugium persecutorum, or refuge of the persecuted.
Refuge of the persecuted. Precisely. This tells us that this Porty is an Irish emigrant, a figure of exile, who has sought refuge in England, making it his hindquarters, or headquarters. This immediately creates a poignant historical and political subtext to his personal story, hinting at themes of colonial oppression, national struggle, persecution, and the complex, often fraught relationship between Ireland and England, all embodied in this single character's journey.
A whole history in one phrase.
Exactly. It's a concise yet powerful summation of the Irish diaspora experience.
And then, amidst these weighty allusions, we get a very specific, almost comical detail about his weekend pastime. He pauses for a fragrant calabash during his weekend pastime of executing with Annie Oakley deadliness. Empties, which had not very long before contained Reed's family stout.
Chuckles, yeah.
This paints a surprisingly vivid, almost cinematic picture of this character, doesn't it? What's the tone here?
It absolutely does. And the tone is a brilliant mix of the mundane, the slightly pathetic, and the historically resonant. This image is incredibly vivid, adding a layer of quirky, almost frustrated realism to the Porty. He's pausing for a fragrant calabash, which is a calabash pipe, possibly with a fag end or a cigarette butt, for a fragrant smoke.
Okay.
His weekend pastime is described as executing with Annie Oakley deadliness. Empties. Annie Oakley, as our sources confirm, was a famous American sharpshooter known for her incredible accuracy.
Right, the sharpshooter.
Humorously applying her deadliness to the act of shooting empty bottles, specifically Reed's family stout, a common Irish stout, perhaps a sentimental choice, is both amusing and slightly poignant. It suggests a man with a certain skill, perhaps a frustrated aim, practicing on the remnants of his consumption, a symbol of past enjoyment. But then, Joyce directly addresses you, the reader, breaking the fourth wall in a jarring way. You read that before, Soki, but all the bottles in Sodom history will not soften your blood-athirst.
Whoa. That's directed right at us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's direct, almost accusatory. Soaky could mean drunk or saturated, implying the reader is steeped in such stories. Sodomed is a portmanteau of Sodom and soddened, hinting at moral decay or historical burden. Blood-athirst clearly means bloodthirstiness, but also resonates with the Russian word blood for lechery, suggesting a violent, perhaps even morally questionable past that the reader is complicit in desiring to revisit. It's a meta-commentary, almost an accusation that you, the reader, are complicit in seeking out these grim details, implying some prior dark event that the narrative is either revisiting or alluding to.
So Joyce is implicating the reader.
It feels like it. It's Joyce simultaneously satisfying and scolding the reader's appetite for dramatic narrative, reminding us of the weight of history and the cyclical nature of storytelling.
That's a wonderfully unsettling moment for the reader. After this, having primed his repeater and resumed his timepiece, his revenances, rose to his feet. What's deeply significant about the phrase, his revenances? It feels like much more than just a simple title for the man.
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. It's designed to elevate and complicate the figure significantly. Reprimed his repeater means he's reloaded his firearm, and resit-roomed his timepiece means he's reset his watch, but also playfully suggests restroom, a mundane act of preparing oneself.
That chuckles.
These are small, almost comical actions of preparation, yet the appellation, his revenances, immediately imbues the figure with immense symbolic weight. This term brilliantly combines revenant, a ghost, or one who returns from the dead, with a suggestion of reverence or multiple returns, almost like a spirit manifesting.
A ghost return.
Or someone returning. Joseph Campbell, in his analysis, powerfully calls him a reincarnation of the very man whom he has risen to defend. This directly and unequivocally foreshadows the central blurring of storyteller and subject, implying that the man about to tell a story is, in some profound sense, the very character of the story he is about to narrate.
So the teller is the tale.
In a way, yes. It's like a historical figure returning to tell his own tale, but through the filter of time and memory. The passage then adds, with still a life or two to spare for the space of his occupancy of a world at a time. This references Henry David Thoreau's poignant dying words, one world at a time.
Thoreau.
Adding a philosophical layer about living fully in the present, but also hinting at multiple lives, multiple identities, or perhaps even a refusal to dwell in the spiritual next world. It connects the mundane act of rising to a profound philosophical statement about existence, time, and the continuous unfolding of identity within different worlds or contexts.
So just a vast perspective.
A vast, almost eternal perspective on his own being, yeah.
So he rises far from his original home to tell this story. He rises far from Tolkien in a quiet English garden, commonplace since known as Whittington Wild. And there, He spake of the one, and told of the compassionate, called up before the triad of precocious scare-makers, the now to usher mythical habiliments of our far, and Arthur of our doin. This is a truly profound moment, revealing a grand, almost mythical narrative about a foundational figure. What's unfolding here?
This is truly a pivotal moment where the mythical dimension of the wake fully takes hold. The setting, far from Tolkien, profoundly emphasizes his distance from his native Dublin, the Tolka River plus Germanheim for home, reinforcing his status as an exile or emigrant.
Right.
The quiet English garden is initially described as commonplace, ordinary, but then subtly transforms into Whittington Wild, a playful reference to the legendary Dick Whittington, whose story involves leaving London as a poor boy only to return as a prosperous Lord Mayor.
The return theme again.
Exactly. This sets the stage not just for a story, but for a narrative of transformation, departure, and eventual, perhaps mythical, return. The audience, the triad of precocious scaremakers, are the truants, now seen as precocious alarmists or perhaps simply boisterous children. Interestingly, our sources note an Esperanto phrase related to this section. Spegulo ne helpas al malbelulo.
Esperanto.
Yes. A mirror doesn't help an ugly person. Your dowry is your face, which is a cryptic commentary on appearance and value, perhaps relating to the storyteller's own altered cloudy fizz and his awareness of how he is perceived.
Okay.
But the core of the passage is when he spake of the one and told of the compassionate. These are epithets often applied to Allah or other universal deities, suggesting a story of universal, almost divine significance transcending any single religion. And then comes the truly profound revelation. He calls up the now to usher mythical habiliments of our far, and Arthur of our doin. Our far is a brilliant fusion of our father, from the Lord's Prayer, universalizing the parental figure, and the Danish far, paternal grandfather, grounding him in familial lineage.
Our father, our grandfather.
Right. And Arthur of our doin combines author of our days, the creator, the progenitor, with allusions to King Arthur, the legendary British king, and Major Doyne, a specific historical figure tied to Irish land ownership. This is HECE, Humphrey Chimpton Earwigger.
It all comes back to HECE.
It always does. The foundational father figure of the wake, presented as both mythical and intimately familial, a primal ancestor who is simultaneously a legendary king, a local dignitary, and a universal father. Here, Joyce clearly signals that the story being told is not just about HCE, but that the storyteller himself, his revenances, is somehow a reincarnation or embodiment of HED, blurring the past and present, the narrator and the narrated. It's a magnificent moment where individual identity truly dissolves and reforms into something vast, ancient, and archetypal. It's like the father of all stories has returned to tell his own tale through countless generations. 3. The pictorial narrative. Humphrey's clothing and the touching scene, pages 52.18, 53.06.
That truly changes how we understand the very act of storytelling. As the story begins to unfold, we get this incredible declaration. Television kills telephony and brothers broil. Our eyes demand their turn. Let them be seen.
Yeah, quite a statement.
This is a powerful, almost prophetic statement, especially coming from a text written almost a century ago about how we perceive narratives. What does this shift from telephony to television imply about how we are meant to receive this narrative now?
It's an astonishingly prescient statement, isn't it? This line explicitly introduces a major theme, almost a mandate for the reader. The primacy of visual representation overriding auditory experience. It's framed as a brother's broil, a quarrel, a confused disturbance, or even a fight for dominance between the senses of hearing, telephony, the spoken word, the story told aloud, and sight, television, the visual image, the scene unfolding.
Sight versus sound.
Exactly. The quote, "Our eyes demand their turn, let them be seen," comes from an old collection of stories, emphasizing this shift from merely hearing the story to intensely seeing the character being described.
Yeah.
It's as if the narrative is moving from an ancient oral tradition to a modern visual one, like a film or a painting unfolding before our eyes, demanding active participation from our visual imagination.
Okay.
This dramatic shift is further emphasized by the complex and evocative imagery that immediately follows. And wolf-bone balefires blaze the trail most, if only that Mary Nothing may burst her bibby buckshee.
Wolf-bone balefires.
Yeah. Wolf-bone balefires refers to ancient signaling fires, and also to Celtic Beltane bonfires lit on May Day, connecting to a sense of urgent, almost primal communication and revelation. Mary Nothing is WWI slang for a negligible woman, and a term of opprobrium, suggesting someone insignificant.
Mary Nothing.
The idea that she may burst her bibby buckshee combines burst her bubble, revealing a truth or illusion, bibi as slang for a woman, and bakshi for something extra or free, a gratuity. It suggests that even the most insignificant figure will be made dramatically visible, perhaps revealed in an explosive way by this intense fire of the narrative.
So everything becomes visible now.
That's the implication. Joyce is telling us that the story is now going to be presented visually, like a tapestry or a play, making the described character intensely present and undeniable, regardless of his prior elusive or ambiguous identity. It's an invitation to lean in and truly see what's being presented.
And as if on cue, we immediately get another detailed description of HC's clothing, almost like a visual roll call, even more specific and iconic than the last one. The first, Humphrey's latitudinous beaver with puggery behind, his four-in-hand bow, his elbow-room surtout, the refaced unmentionables of gingerine hue, the state slate umbrella, his gruff Wolseley-Wellesley with the Findrin knops and the gauntlet upon the hand. This is truly painting a portrait with words.
It is, and this second, even more iconic, list of HCE's clothing directly builds on that powerful declaration, "Let them be seen." It's a vivid visual manifestation of the character, a costume designed for an archetypal performance. Each item is laden with meaning and historical echoes.
Like the hat, the beaver with puggery.
Exactly. His latitudinous beaver with puggery behind describes a broad beaver hat with a scarf, but puggery also references a pigtail, which then connects to Chinese cultural references like calaboose belong, big boss belong, king the toll. A slang phrase about a prison belonging to a big boss, potentially inspired by the pigtail, linking HCE to Confucius's father, Kung the Tall.
Wow, HCE and Confucius.
It immediately fuses HCE with deep Eastern history, imperial authority, and a universal father figure, expanding his reach far beyond Ireland. His four-in-hand bow is a modern necktie, contrasting sharply with the more theatrical, older attire from the previous description.
Right, different eras.
Suggesting a timelessness or an ability to inhabit different eras simultaneously. The elbow-room surtout is a roomy overcoat, slyly referencing Elba, Napoleon's island of exile, and literally providing elbow room, hinting at a man of expansive presence or one who has seen his own rise and fall.
Napoleon, too.
Then, the refaced unmentionables of gingerine hue are patched underwear or trousers of a gingerange color, suggesting wear and repair, perhaps a certain disrepute or frugality, a grounding in the mundane despite his mystical status. He carries a state slate umbrella, a formal dark umbrella, often a symbol of respectability or authority. His gruff Wolseley-Wellesley with the Findrin knops is a coarse woolen garment, a type of linsey-woolsey, possibly referencing Lord Wolseley and the Duke of Wellington, two prominent military figures, with silver-bronze buttons, Knopf is German for button,
Military figure.
further embedding him in military and political history. And finally, the gauntlet upon the hand, a stout glove, is a highly symbolic detail, often associated with challenges, duels, or knightly conduct.
The gauntlet.
What Joyce is doing here is not just dressing a character, he's dressing an archetype, a walking historical composite, whose every accoutrement tells a part of the human story.
And that gauntlet leads directly into a very specific and dark historical illusion, one that carries significant weight, which in an hour not for him solely evil had struck down the might he might have been Destair, of whom his nation seemed almost already to be about to have need. This brings in a real-world tragedy that profoundly impacted Irish history.
This is a truly profound moment, tying HCE directly into the fraught tapestry of Irish history and the weight of consequential actions. The hand with the gauntlet, acting in an hour not for him solely evil, evokes John Milton's Paradise Lost, specifically Eve's picking the forbidden fruit.
The fall.
Suggesting a moment of fateful decision and its far-reaching, perhaps even cosmic consequences. This evil hour directly references a pivotal event in Irish political history. Daniel O'Connell, a key figure in the struggle for Catholic emancipation, killing John Destair in a duel in 1850.
O'Connell's duel, right?
Destair, a member of the Dublin Corporation, was sent to challenge O'Connell after O'Connell called the corporation beggarly. Destair's death had significant repercussions for O'Connell, leading him to forswear dueling and even pay an allowance to Destair's daughter, a private sorrow stemming from public conflict. The phrase, he might been Destair of whom his nation seemed almost already to be about to have need, suggests that Destair was a figure of potential national importance, whose early demise through HCE's actions, as the archetypal figure of O'Connell, had profound, complex consequences for the nation.
So HCE embodies O'Connell here.
He embodies that moment, that action, that consequence. This is not just a description, it's a historical tableau, painting HCE as a figure of significant national destiny, whose actions, even in moments of personal conflict, shaped a nation's fate, and whose story is constantly being reframed and reevaluated through the lens of memory, regret, and consequence.
The weight of history on one figure.
Exactly. It's a powerful example of how personal acts can have national repercussions and how historical figures become entangled in a web of what-ifs.
After this intense description, the narrative shifts again, and it feels like Joyce is giving us a peek behind the curtain of his own storytelling. Then, stealing his thunder, but in the befitting legomena of the smaller country, probable words possibly said of field family gleaming, a bit duskish and flavored with a smile, seen as out his thoughts consisted chiefly of the cheerio, he aptly sketched, for our soon-to-be second parents, Sukin Siowabe, the touching scene. What's happening in this narrative shift, and who are these second parents who are receiving this story?
Stealing his thunder is a crucial phrase here, a meta-commentary on the very act of narration. It explicitly acknowledges that the storyteller is appropriating, retelling, or perhaps even reinterpreting HCE's narrative.
Taking over the story.
Essentially, yes. Taking over the original impact of the story and making it his own. The phrase, in the befitting legomena of the smaller country, means words said, from Greek legomena, in Irish, the language of Ireland, indicating that the story is now being told in a local, perhaps more humble, authentic, or intimate idiom.
Okay, shifting the language.
Right. This evokes the idea of probable words, possibly said, linking to a concept from historical studies where words are cited not for their strict historical veracity, but for their plausibility and resonance within a given context. It's like gleaning words from a field, as our sources note, gathering snippets of truth or narrative from the common ground of family history and folklore, shaping them into a new tale.
Right.
A bit duskish and flavored with a smile adds to this sense of a story softened by memory, perhaps tinged with twilight and presented with affection, despite any darker undertones. Our soon-to-be second parents is a beautiful, deeply symbolic phrase. Our first parents are Adam and Eve, representing the original progenitors of humanity.
So second parents means?
It suggests a new beginning, a new origin story, or perhaps a new, reinvented narrative of creation and identity, a retelling of foundational myths for a new generation. Suchen Sie Weib playfully suggests the German Suchen Sie das Weib, look for the woman, hinting at the eternal quest for understanding, for the feminine principle, or for the underlying reasons, why be, behind existence.
Look for the woman, or look for the why.
Exactly. This is Joyce revealing his own narrative technique, retelling, adapting, and transforming stories through different voices and perspectives, acknowledging the malleability of history and the profound power of interpretation to constantly reshape our foundational myths. It's about finding the essential human drama within the grand historical sweep.
That's a profound statement on how stories evolve and are passed down. The description of the scene that follows is incredibly vivid, a true sensory experience, almost overwhelming. The solace of that stilling, here one might a fin fell. Boomster rambombonant, it seems like a landscape from Wildu Picturesque, or some seem on some dim arras dumb as mum's mutiness. This mimage of the 77th cousin of Christensen is audible to all as across the wineless, ere no eater, nor mere eerie, nor less potent of suggestion than in the tales of the Tingmount Brigade.
Chuckles. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
This is a total immersion.
Yeah.
What is Joyce trying to achieve by engaging all our senses in such a way?
It truly is a multimedia, multisensory experience compressed into a few lines. A masterpiece of linguistic synesthesia. The solace of that stilling is a fantastic Joycean compound, blending silence, solace, and insolence with the Danish stilling for situation or pose.
Silence, stillness.
Creating a complex emotional and atmospheric resonance. Here, one might have Finfell plays brilliantly on Hear a Pinfall, emphasizing extreme quiet, but it also incorporates Finn, shelter for man, and Finn McCool, the legendary Irish giant, hinting at a significant, almost mythical falling sound in the profound silence.
It's falling.
Potentially. And then the very next phrase explodes. Boomster and bombonant. This is the sound of Finn falling, a magnificent onomatopoeic mixture of Dutch for tree and flowers and Italian for rumble and booming, giving it a majestic, thundering, resonant quality that fills the silence it just broke.
Ooh.
Exactly. The scene is then presented visually like a landscape from Wildu Picturesque, referencing Oscar Wilde's picture of Dorian Gray and the picturesque aesthetic, or some seam on some dim arras, like a rich, often concealing arras tapestry.
Like a painting or a tapestry.
Precisely. This emphasizes the visual, almost painted, quality of the narrative, a scene meticulously woven together. It's described as dumb as mum's mutiness, utter silence, perhaps a primal pre-linguistic quiet, yet simultaneously audible to us, using Danish us and Latin for mouth bone, also referencing odd as a magical vital force.
Audible silence.
Sort of. Joyce bombards us with a full spectrum of senses.
Yeah.
Touch, touching scene, sights, television, wild, picturesque, or
Yeah.
hearing, pinfell, booming, audible, smell, odor, and even a hint of taste implied by wineless and wineless air.
All the senses at once.
Right. This sensory overload spanning wineless air, wireless air, Ireland, or simply lacking wine, suggesting austerity, to the Thingmote, the ancient Viking parliament in Dublin, a powerful historical site, connect the narrative to deep historical, mythological, and even extrasensory realms.
And Sprigbell at the end.
The final prigged, stolen, is another classic Joycean meta-commentary, acknowledging his own reuse of material, specifically from his portrait of the artist as a young man. It's an accusation of self-plagiarism that underscores the recursive, self-referential nature of the Wake.
He's stealing from himself.
Where nothing is truly original but always retold, reimagined, and reappropriated. This entire passage is an invitation to immerse yourself fully in the multimedia experience of the Wake, where language creates sights, sounds, and sensations that transcend linear storytelling and fixed realities, inviting us to not just read, but to experience the narrative.
That's an astonishing amount of experience packed into so few lines. So what does this all mean for us as learners navigating this incredible text? We've delved into just 3 pages, and already the layers of meaning, the historical echoes, and the linguistic play are astonishing.
They really are.
We've seen firsthand how Joyce constantly challenges our assumptions about who is speaking, who is being described, and even the very nature of identity itself, all while weaving in profound history, intricate linguistics, and deep cultural memory. It's a journey into the fluid nature of reality itself.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these pages are nothing short of a masterclass in how narratives are constructed, deconstructed, and then perpetually reconstructed. The storyteller here is not merely an objective observer, but also, crucially, the subject of the story.
Right, that blurring again.
Dissolving the traditional boundaries between teller and tale. The past is not a fixed, immutable point, but intimately intertwined with and actively shaping the present. Every single word holds multiple meanings, allusions, and possibilities like a kaleidoscope. It's a profound reminder that history, memory, and personal identity are far from fixed entities. They're constantly shifting, evolving, and transforming, much like the cloudy fizz of the storyteller himself. Joyce, in these pages, forces you to become an active participant, an archaeological detective, unraveling the dense threads of meaning rather than passively receiving a straightforward tale.
So the richness is in the possibilities.
Exactly. The real insight is in recognizing that understanding isn't about finding one definitive answer, but embracing the richness of all the possibilities that emerge from this deliberate ambiguity.
That's a powerful invitation to a deeper kind of engagement. You, as the learner, have seen firsthand how diligent attention to detail combined with an open mind to linguistic play, historical allusion, and multisensory experiences can unlock a treasure trove of insight. It's not about finding one definitive answer, but about appreciating the immense richness and complexity of all the possibilities that Joyce presents. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary deep dive into Finnegans Wake.
And remember, Joyce often uses language itself to question the stability of what we consider truth, revealing how meaning is always in flux, always under construction.
Right. So, if a story's ultimate power lies not in its clarity, but in its boundless capacity to endlessly transform, allude, and echo across time and consciousness, how might that profound idea change the way you approach not just complex literature, but the complex, layered narratives of your own world?
That's a great question.
Consider how even the most factual accounts might be echoing distant histories, personal transformations, and multiple elusive voices. What stories are you retelling or being told without fully realizing the myriad layers and shifting identities contained within them?